Okay, so we'd now like to hear from you. So we invite questions from the audience, but not just questions. We already have one question there. Also stories. If you would like to share a story, if you have something to tell us related to the topic, please feel free to do that. Yeah. When you share the story, please don't give out the company names, okay? Because, you know, yeah.
Hi, my name's Emma. I'm working out in Egypt at the moment, and I'm the only native speaker working mainly with bilingual teachers. And the other day, maybe a week or so ago, I had a teacher, but it was the middle management, so she was the principal of the school, asking me, okay, so you're the native speaker teacher, so I have this problem. I don't know when to give the kids their sandwiches. You must know, as a native speaker teacher. And although that's a true but a fairly ridiculous example, I get this all the time from principals asking me, oh, can you take the class because you're the native speaker teacher? And it's this middle management that's sort of undermining, they're all Egyptian themselves, undermining their own teachers' confidence. And what I want to know is actually, well, when I'm in that situation and I'm getting these comments, what should I say to them that's positive? Because I don't want to turn around and say, oh, actually, you're wrong and blah, 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 and this research, but how do I deal with not only the teachers, but the management themselves? How can I deal with it in a positive, proactive way to challenge what do I say when I'm put in that situation? And I'm sure that lots of people have similar like how to go about it in a positive way to challenge this discourse. So that's my story.
Oh, it's not working. Your mics don't work.
Do you want to? No, just join it. So Josh type question. Yeah, Josh.
These work.
I don't know. I mean, have you thought about trying to arrange some kind of group of discussion with teachers and management together? I mean, I think obviously when you're perhaps being put on the spot and asked, maybe that isn't the right moment because they want something to happen maybe now. But
Is the issue, it's often I'm on the spot and I want to challenge it and I want to say something, but maybe, it's not quite the right time or it wouldn't be productive at that time. So what is a better way of going about it?
I mean, my first thought is suggesting some kind of meeting or focus group or discussion with teachers and management, perhaps propose it in an email, allow some communication, a bit of a timeline. I don't know, does other people have any suggestions? Cece?
I don't know. I think that
Sorry. I don't know. My name is Cecilia. I am a non-native speaker.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I am a bilingual teacher. I think Josh's idea is one. Sorry, Emma. But I think also dealing with that kind of thing in a very natural way and maybe bringing up that, oh, sure, I can do that. But not because I am a native speaker, but because I can handle the sandwiches or because, you know what I mean? It's not being, because if it's not being, if the fact that you're a native, that you were born in an English-speaking country, it's not what makes you skillful or able to do that. You should point that out very nicely and gently to them. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I think when it comes to the sandwiches, I think we have another problem. It's the culture problem. So you also ask all kinds of questions. I get these questions about, do you support British or Scottish independence? What you think about the Brexit? Oh, you really want to know? No. So, and that's the thing. It's like sandwiches is British, so therefore you must be able to deal with these things. The other thing is, it could also be if they ask you to take classes, English classes, have you offered, for example, pronunciation training for your Egyptian colleagues?
So the pronunciation, sorry. So I'm a teacher trainer, so one of the things that I would like to do is offer more positive discourses for my teachers, the teachers that I'm training within their training sessions. So this is what I can do with the teachers themselves. It's the sort of middle management, the ones that are just above, that are above them, that are actually the real challenge because I don't have as much access to them as what I do my own teachers.
But you're one person. There's only so much you can
Yeah.
do. And if the other teachers get trained more, then there's a point. I don't even know, and I think that's quite a good point.
I've always been a bit of a rebel. And I would say in the moment, I mean, if you really don't think that you should be the one doing the sandwiches, maybe you could say, I could, but so-and-so would probably do a better job. And like pass it off to a colleague, like name somebody. No, seriously, because I think, I don't know, like, really? Like why, I don't know.
The point I was making with the sandwich, it is a true story. It's just that they see you as an expert in everything, even when, obviously I'm an expert in language. That's where my expertise lie, along with my other teachers. But they ask me questions that I don't have any experience in about training, or that they're much more qualified, much more experienced, that they can answer their own questions way better, of course, than I can. But,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
another.
Start a new one.
Start a
you.
new one, please. Yeah.
Enough sandwiches for the
Yeah. Are we done with the sandwiches now? Okay. Yeah, I'd like to share with the room what one can do as part of a teachers' association. This is something that, should I stand up? Yeah. Silvana mentioned today about what people can do, and we've had different ideas here. My name is Helen, and I am based in the south of Germany, and I was formerly chair of the Munich English Language Teachers Association, IATEFL affiliate, and here I've got two of my former committee members here as well who are actually non-native, or shall I say bilingual. We've got Maribel from the Dominican Republic and Panjali from India as well. And a couple of years ago, in my first year as chair, I was uncomfortable with the fact that we have job adverts on the website. And we were accepting job adverts which said native speakers only, and we'd been doing this for some time. And I was uncomfortable about that, and I didn't know really what I could do about it, because I just felt, well, that's just my opinion, I don't like it. And it wasn't actually until I came across Marek's, the website, the TEFL Equity Advocates, that I found that it's actually illegal to do this, because it contravenes Article 21 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Human Rights. And it wasn't until I actually had this piece of ammunition that I then felt that I had the courage to then say to potential employers, we're not going to accept this. I felt that I had the right to say we're not going to accept this because it contravenes this law. And I was very surprised with the feedback that I got from the employers who were saying, I said, I'm not going to accept this. Basically, I'm not going to accept this. I discussed it with the committee and we agreed as well. And their feedback was really, really very positive, that they hadn't really thought about that before. And they said, wow, yeah, okay, we'll change it to proficient, because I offered, you can change it to proficient speaker or just remove it completely. It should be, accepted that, or given that this person should be proficient in English. Now, the problem that I had was that one particular university dean said to me, no, we don't want to say proficient. We want, because some of our students are C2 anyway, some of them are proficient. We want someone who is even better than proficient to teach our proficient learners. And so he, and so he said, can we have, and what was it, native or near native-like level of proficiency? And I didn't really know what to do, and I don't know if I contacted Marek at that time and said, help, what do I do? And so I unfortunately accepted it, and it's still on our website now to say, you can't say native speaker, but you can say near native level of proficiency. I'm not on the MELTA committee anymore, so I don't know what to do now. So now I've kind of left this, and that's not how I wanted it to be. But I'm not comfortable with the word native at all. What is a native level proficiency, But anyway, this is something that a teachers' association can do. Whether you're on the committee, you're the chair or not, I think you can encourage your local committee to do this. if you don't do job ads on the website, then simply another thing that we did was just to write articles in your newsletter as well, just to get that out there. But teachers' associations, I think, can do something, and so that's what I wanted to share with you.
If can I just pick up on that, because it's obviously teachers' associations, very important role to play. Do anybody in the room know about more management or school owner or principal level associations, and if there's any action in those arenas? Okay, I'll take that as a no. It would strike me that that would be an area where a lot of influence lies.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to briefly sort of comment on that native-like. In the conclusion, I'll show you another ad from TEFL.com. It's kind of changed a lot, because now they never say native speaker, but they say native-like. But it's kind of like, I can see there's a lot of women in the audience. It's like when imagine you had a job ad for a police officer or a firefighter, and one of the requirements was men like strength and men like bravery. As if all men were brave. I'm not very brave, I'm quite shy. But it is discriminatory, I think, and you can clearly see that in that example, and I think it is the same for native-like. And we have tests, we have, your CFR framework, you have IELTS, you have TEFL, you have lots of tests. Whether you agree that those tests are valid or not, it's a whole different panel discussion. But I think if you say C1 or C2 level, at least it's something that as a non-native speaker I can get. I can't be native-like, not that I want to. I don't think it's a reasonable goal. But so I think rather than saying native-like, I'd suggest, a proficiency level, whichever scale you want to use, IELTS, CFR, or any other scale. Yeah.
I have the microphone, which means I can speak anyway. So, all right, I have to say I totally agree with Marek there. The idea is going against this notion of native as the norm. So people can get around this. It's, I think the example with male-like strength or courage or whatever, I think it's a perfect example. So I would say C3, level of competence, C3. It doesn't exist, but it doesn't matter. Yeah? That should solve the problem. Now, I would like to, I hope rhetorical questions are allowed. I would like to ask a question, which I hope is a rhetorical question. Now, we're all familiar here with the FAIR list, I'm sure. And according to the FAIR list, they have this criteria. If an association are organizing an event, and the two sexes are equally represented among the plenary speakers, they get a tick. Yeah? Okay, so looking at IATEFL 2016, we can look, for example, at the panelists, and we say 3 women, 2 men. Okay, not perfect, but good. They get a tick. Now, if there was a similar FAIR list for the, about this issue, native speakers, non-native speakers, would IATEFL 2016 get a tick? I would like to know what a panel think on this. A yes or no will do. Thank you.
Yeah, no and a half, or I think, yeah, I think it's, if you look at the figures, most of plenary speakers are native speakers, so I think it wouldn't get a tick. But we've got to give it to IATEFL this year that we've had a fantastic presentation from Silvana Richardson.
I'm going to have my rant now because I've lived in the UK for 15 years. That doesn't make me less of a non-native speaker. I've been treated as a pseudo-native speaker, and I find that horrifying. It's a new level of discrimination here. Sorry, rant over. Thank you very much.
Waist down.
Yeah.
Any?
What do the others think?
Well, I would say a no. I won't be invited back anymore. But I suppose progress is being made. Not talking about IATEFL specifically. It's up there. Progress is being made. It's going to take a while. Those of us of a certain age can remember. There still are gender discriminatory ads out there, but there were many, many more 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So, and it takes time. But it is the chipping away. It's like you say, an association. I'm not saying what you did is very small, but it's important. But just going back to the thing there about not stealing your thunder, about the law. You know, a lot of people don't know about the EU law, and that is a great stick because it's illegal. None to do with me, it's the law. I'm interested to know what the legal situation is in the US for websites hosted in the US. That's not something I've explored. I don't know that you have, Marek, because there's one website in particular which is based in the US, which is, you know, fairly keen on discriminating. Somebody might be able to help us on that.
I had a question first, but I'll pass on. It's actually more a comment. Can I come back to the two big P's here, power and privilege? And my problem here is, yes, we can go for a yes-no tick on IATEFL, but we want to move beyond a kind of antagonism between native and non-native speakers, and I think that was one of Savannah's strongest points. And we had a couple of native speakers, Brits, I have to say, sitting quite next to us, and they were frozen. They did not applaud because they're scared. They're losing privilege, they're losing jobs, they're fearing competition. And how do we avoid that? How do we create more this kind of community? How do we avoid that kind of hate mail? So if we say, okay, it's about, we know that from gender discussion. We are far from gender equality. We will take another 100 years to reach post-gender society, to be honest. Yes, if that is still an issue. And I think if we want to go the same way, we have to be very careful of not antagonizing people. So
yeah, if I can just, comment on that, having the hate mail thing. Silvana, was it John you called him, your Polish car mechanic? I mean, he's probably brilliant at fixing cars. You know, I'll go to him if I have a problem. The haters that I got were John's, as far as I can see, because I did a little bit of Facebook stalking, and they were blokes of my age, sadly mainly Brits, a few Americans living in Southeast Asia. And they had not one teaching qualification between them, I suspect. And they feel very vulnerable. And I have to say brutally, I do not consider them to be part of my profession. Period.
Yeah, can I just...
I don't know about John, in case I want my car fixed. I'll keep him in.
Hi, my name is Dita Phillips. I work as a teacher trainer in Oxford. I just wanted to say I'm not sure there's much we can do about those kind of people. But I see, I work a lot on CELTA courses, and I'm very lucky to work in a center where most of our courses have a mixture of natives and non-natives. And for me, that's an amazing, amazing opportunity to get those two groups to cooperate and start seeing each other's strengths, appreciate them, because we are basically training the future docents, the future trainers. I think that's a special am I allowed a little plug here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'll be doing a talk, sort of a combination of Butch's and Chris's, called I'm a non-native speaker teacher, hear me roar. So I'll be talking more about training and my ideas. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. I might even roar. Executive room 7, 11 o'clock. Thank you. Yes.
No, my name is Marcela Sintra. I just wanted to say something on Burku's and Christopher's moment there, because 2 years ago I was here in IATEFL giving a talk. I'm an obviously bilingual speaker, a teacher, right? And I was giving a talk to an audience of teachers, and suddenly I was talking about, the talk was about teaching unplugged. So in the middle of the talk I was talking about live listening as one of the solutions there, and using the teacher as a source of input to the learners. One of the teachers in the audience put her hand up. She was really angry at me for suggesting that, because that didn't solve her problem at all. How could she, a non-native speaker, be a model for her learners? And I still don't know what to do with all the teachers we meet every day that think like that. And Savannah mentioned that this morning. We do feel less than the native speakers in a way. For most of us, this is a big issue. And I don't know, there are still teachers who will look at Christopher and say, you are more than me, even though you're not a qualified teacher, right? don't know what to do.
Okay, I just wanted to actually toss the question because what I really feel is one of the key questions on these kind of problematics we have here is about teacher development, right? I mean, how do we differentiate good teacher from bad teacher is teacher development, especially language development. And what I feel, at least I'm talking about my reality, I'm a Brazilian, I teach in Brazil, and most of teachers, unfortunately, in Brazil are B1, B2 tops. And there is nothing clearly being done in any institution, in any association, or any kind of instance to deal with that. I mean, okay, you do. But the thing is, I remember in my career, when I was taking the CELTA course, one of the key points of my career was when my tutor, and she's back there, and she knows I'm talking about her, when she looked at me, okay, you have these, and these strong points, but you really need to go for a language certificate. And you really need to pursue language proficiency because that's what's going to differentiate you from the teachers here in the context you have. But what I feel is there is a myth that talking about a teacher's language is offensive or demeaning, and I have never felt like that whatsoever when I was corrected by some friends of mine, some colleagues, like, you don't pronounce like this, you pronounce like that, you don't say mind you say mind me, or something like that. And you should go for better English level. So what I wanted to actually toss the question is, why don't we actually talk about a level of English proficiency for teachers? Like, is it a C1? Is it a C2? Is acceptable? Or maybe we should create a C3, or I don't know, a S4, like Shakespeare 4, something like that. Because I think that's something that is actually being, looked away. We don't discuss what is a good level of English proficiency. I'm not thinking about native and non-native. I'm thinking about proficient speakers. And what would be the good level? Why this is not discussed in the forums we have? I mean, I should have a C2 or a C3 or a D4. I don't know. So that's what I want you to
just
discuss.
quickly comment on that, and then we'll go to the person with the hand up there. But you probably know Igor Cavalcanti. Yeah, so he's Brazilian. He's given a webinar actually for TEFL Equity, so you can watch that. And he's talked about low proficiency of English teachers. I totally agree. I think you can't be a maths teacher without knowing maths. However, there are different levels of knowing maths, and you can probably be a great English teacher in certain areas with B1 English. And I think there is a certain obsession in our profession which leads to a situation where being a proficient speaker of a language is equated with being a proficient teacher of that language. And I think that's important. Obviously, again, I think, if you're a teacher and your level of English is A2 or B1, go and improve your English. I think there's lots of ways of doing that. And, internet, books, there's no way of getting out of it. You have to improve your English, really. I think so. But again, I think we need to avoid an obsession with proficiency, native, like, whatever that means, right? Yeah. So we'll have one last question, and then we'll wrap up. And then if you want to have more questions, we'll hang out in, we can have a coffee. But we'll need to be wrapping up. So last question, please.
Thank you so much. I'm Prem Paudel from Nepal. Maybe some of you are familiar with the country. It's very, very multilingual, quite complex ethnically. We have more than 123 ethnic groups in a small country, and we have more than 125 languages in a country. And the class I teach, the students come from 10 different language backgrounds. And I have one example. There was one American lady, native speaker lady, teacher, and she went to our classes as a volunteer, and she was rejected in a week's time. And we said, why? And our students said that they didn't understand her. And what was the problem? And they said, we didn't understand what she said actually, because she was teaching literature. And we asked the question to her, your students are not satisfied with your delivery and something like that. And she said, if not, then I think I can't teach them because my English is different from their English and something like that. And the problem was, it was her accent, which was native speaker accent. She came from Central America, General American English she had. We had difficulty in understanding, so our students obviously had difficulty in understanding. So the discussion is very quite close to our problem as well. And from my perspective here, to encourage non-native speaker teachers teaching English around the world, a kind of proficiency is needed. That's quite, I agree with her, and with him and with her. But the question is, who designs the test? How he or she is judged? For example, I'm non-native speaker teacher. My pronunciation may not be a good pronunciation from native speaker perspective. So if you develop the test from native speaker regime, I will be failed, or I will not get the level that you say, but I will be able to teach the students in my classroom. I can teach in India, I can teach in Bangladesh, I can teach in Bhutan, I have been to China. So I can teach in other countries, but not here. Maybe because my pronunciation, my accent is not like native speakers' accent. So this is what we need to think of. So when designing test, let's say IELTS, I may fail, I may not get 7 in IELTS, but I may be a good teacher somewhere in the university or in the colleges. So that's why the reformation is necessary at the testing level as well. This is what I think. And the designs of test must be from non-native speaker perspectives as well. Yeah. And for that, the problem for that is people, yesterday I talked with Jemry Harmer, and he had written a lot of books. Nonan also has written many books. But I have never.
I hate to interrupt you. But we really have to finish. I think it's a really important point that you bring.
Yeah, that's a point. My question is, we are so much multilingual, multi-ethnic, but there is no any data from Nepal included in language teaching methodology books. That's the question. So we need to understand that complexity as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that security is already probably waiting for us to leave. So I'll be very quick. I'll just wrap up. So lots of positives. TEFL France, TEFL International, the statements, public statements against discrimination. There's lots of websites and associations that are changing the way they hire teachers. There is a massive non-native speaker interest section. It's like the IATEFL SIG in TEFL. They've got 1,000 members from all over the world. In a recent publication by Kamil Stein, there's been over 300 publications on the topic. So lots of things are changing. This panel, Silvana's presentation, and many other presentations. There's EU legislation that we can use to fight against this. And this is how TEFL.com has changed. You actually get something like this, and they inform you that you have to comply with EU legislation where it's illegal to advertise for native speakers only. However, it leads to ads like this, native level English fluency, which we discussed, right? And the problem goes deeper than that. There are ads like this one. I won't say where it's from because they're not going to invite me back. But if you can see at the top, if you're a native speaker, you need a BA degree. And if you're a non-native speaker, you need an MA or a PhD. I think there's something slightly wrong there, right? So it goes deeper than that. But I'd like to finish this on a personal note. Ich habe verschiedene Fremdsprachen gelernt und ich habe 3 unterrichtet. Então, eu tive a oportunidade de trabalhar, de ter aulas com professores de francês, inglês, alemão, espanhol, português. Alguns deles foram falantes nativos do idioma, mas outros não. Certains des locuteurs natifs étaient tellement fantastiques. Mais il y avait des autres qui étaient horribles. Igualmente, algunos de los profesores no nativos eran fatales. Pero había también unos que eran absolutamente excepcjonales. Więc jeżeli jest jedna rzecz, której nauczyłem się, ucząc siebie i innych różnych języków obcych, to to, że twój język rodzimy nie ma żadnego znaczenia. Yet ours is a very strange profession which accepts discrimination, where what makes or breaks a teacher is the passport, the mother tongue, an accident of birth. And I think this needs to change, and we can all be part of that change. So thank you very much.